Hi there, my name is Scott Phillips. I'm the president of StarFish Medical, and this is the third in our series of how to avoid common mistakes in medical device development. In the first video I talked about a plea for more clinical input earlier, make a big impact on the success of medical device development generally. And the second one was making sure to carefully consider the financial model and all the various margins that are required by the various parties to make your business successful. And that's one of the most common things that we see. Today what I'd like to talk about is how to capture the requirements as early as possible and the importance of doing that. And philosophically it's a matter of solving the right problem, getting to the root of the problem, and solving the whole problem. So one of the examples, for example, intellectual property. Another one would be formal standards. Quite often these are assumed rather than formally documented. There's a release last year of the new 60601 electrical medical device safety standard, which is actually a lot different from the previous ones. And there's new regulations on medical software, for example, 62304, or usability engineering, 62366. And the basics of ISO 1345 or the FDA QSR standards, making sure that you consider how do you comply with design control as you go along. It's actually quite common in our business to have clients show up with a device in a fairly advanced stage, but it hasn't had any compliance into its development so far. And nor has there been sufficient attention to solving the right problem at a deep enough level early on. And quite often the right solution upon reflection is a significant redevelopment. So the more effort you can spend on getting those requirements captured, the better. Another aspect is specific standards that relate to your device. You're developing some sort of an injector. There's guidances on sharps protection. If you're designing a in vitro diagnostic, there's guidance on that. There's CLIA, which is if you want to do a point of care diagnostic, you have to consider that, which is a complicated body of standards to comply with. The better you can do to capture those risks, the more likely you're going to have the opportunity to avoid expensive rounds of prototyping. The foundation of that normally is a risk analysis. That's one of the major documents that gets input into your requirements, which ultimately, of course, flows into your specs and then your verification protocols and so on. But the risk analysis, there's a standard for that too, ISO 17025, and that allows you to think of all the ways your device might fail to operate properly, might injure somebody, and then you can trace those things right down into the requirements for your device. So you make sure as you develop your device that you're actually solving all the right problems. You don't have a nasty surprise 6 months later when you realize that the rug's been pulled out from under your feet and you have to do a significant redesign. At this point, it's a great time to call upon your advisory board or to develop an advisory board, people who've developed things for their whole lives and will have the rules of thumb handy and the sort of scar tissue and experience to recognize what mistakes you might be making and help direct you to avoid some of them. Another aspect is having a mature quality management system with gate reviews and with the right design control parameters in it. That will make a big difference to whether you can be successful. So skimping on the QMS and developing it yourself, or hiring a generic quality management kind of person to implement your thing who doesn't come from a design background is really a false economy at this point. So I hope that if you follow these suggestions, you'll find that you're off to a great start with your medical device development. Remember, the fundamental is you're not solving the right problem unless you're solving the whole problem. If you'd like a little help with your product development efforts or setting up your quality management system, we'd love to talk to you. Give us a call. Thanks.